They knocked her down on the concrete just as the marching band hit its first note, and no one noticed at first. The woman hit the ground hard, palms scraping, breath leaving her chest in a sharp gasp. When the guard looked down to shout at her, his words froze in his throat. Ink showed through the torn sleeve of her jacket, a trident, an eagle, a skull wrapped in rope. The words beneath it were unmistakable: Navy SEAL. If you love powerful stories about hidden strength, sacrifice, and justice, take a second right now and subscribe to the channel. You're not just watching a story, you're joining a community that honors courage wherever it appears. Her name was Elena Cruz, and she hadn't come looking for trouble. She had come to see her son graduate. For weeks she'd planned the trip, folding and refolding the program that had his name printed in bold letters. She stood outside the stadium, clutching a small paper bag with a handmade flag inside, the kind only a mother would bring. She wore no medals, no uniform, nothing that announced who she used to be. Just a faded jacket, worn boots, and the posture of someone who had learned long ago to scan every room. The campus was loud and crowded, families pushing toward security checkpoints, laughing, crying, taking photos. Elena waited patiently, stepping forward when it was her turn. The young security guard barely glanced at her ticket before waving her aside. "Secondary check," he said flatly. She asked why. He didn't answer. Another guard stepped in, impatient, already irritated by the crowd backing up behind her. Elena tried to explain she was going to miss her son's graduation. She tried to move past them when one guard grabbed her arm. Instinct took over, years of training buried deep, and she twisted away without thinking. That was when they shoved her. Hard. She fell, the world spinning, the taste of blood in her mouth. Someone gasped. Someone laughed nervously. Phones came out. As she pushed herself up, her sleeve tore. The tattoo showed. And everything changed. The guard who had shoved her stared like he'd seen a ghost. His partner took a step back. A third guard leaned in, eyes locked on the ink, recognition flashing across his face. He swallowed. "Ma'am," he said quietly, "where did you serve?" Elena didn't answer. She didn't need to. Her silence said more than words ever could. Around them, the crowd began to hush. Whispers rippled outward. Someone said, "That's a SEAL tattoo." Someone else said, "Is that real?" The guard who had shoved her started apologizing, his voice cracking, hands shaking as he offered to help her up. But Elena wasn't looking at them. She was looking past the gate, toward the stadium, where cadets were already filing into their seats. Somewhere in that sea of uniforms was her son, Marcus Cruz, about to graduate, believing his mother wouldn't make it because she had work. She stood slowly, pain radiating through her knees and back. "I just want to see my boy," she said. Her voice was calm, steady, the kind that comes from surviving storms no one else sees. The senior officer on duty arrived, having been rushed over by radio. He took one look at the tattoo and snapped to attention without thinking. Old habits. He asked her name. When she told him, his expression shifted again, respect mixed with shock. "Ma'am," he said, lowering his voice, "we'll escort you inside." As they moved through the gate, the crowd parted. Elena felt the weight of eyes on her back, but she kept walking. The band grew louder. The sun hit her face. For a moment, memories surged: sand, helicopters, lost teammates, nights she thought she wouldn't survive. She pushed them aside. Today wasn't about the past. It was about her son. They seated her front row, front and center. A medic knelt briefly to check her hands, but she waved him off. "I'm fine," she said. She always said that. The announcer began calling names. One by one, cadets crossed the stage. Then she heard it. Marcus. Cruz. Her breath caught. She stood without realizing it. The crowd erupted in applause, but Elena heard nothing except her heartbeat. Marcus stepped into the light, tall, confident, eyes scanning the stands. And then he saw her. His smile vanished, replaced by shock, then disbelief, then tears. He nearly missed his salute. After the ceremony, Marcus ran to her, uniform and all, wrapping her in the tightest hug of her life. "Mom," he whispered, voice breaking, "I thought you weren't coming." She pulled back just enough to look at him. "I wouldn't miss this for the world," she said. He noticed her scraped hands, the torn sleeve, the tattoo. His face darkened. "Did someone hurt you?" Before she could answer, the officer approached, stiff and formal. He apologized, publicly, loud enough for cameras to hear. The guards who had shoved her stood behind him, faces pale. "We made a mistake," the officer said, "one we won't forget." Elena looked at them, then at her son. She didn't yell. She didn't demand punishment. "Just do better next time," she said. "For someone who can't get back up." The video went viral by nightfall. Clips of the shove, screenshots of the tattoo, headlines calling her the silent warrior mom. Comment sections exploded with support, anger, pride. But Elena didn't watch any of it. She sat in a small diner with Marcus, sharing pie and coffee, listening to him talk about his future. That night, as they stood outside under the stars, Marcus finally asked the question he'd carried his whole life. "Why didn't you ever tell me?" Elena took a deep breath. "Because I wanted you to choose your path without my shadow," she said. "I didn't want you chasing a legacy. I wanted you to build your own." He nodded, understanding at last. The next morning, Elena boarded a bus home, bruised but unbowed. She left behind no medals, no speeches. Just a reminder etched into the minds of everyone who saw her fall and stand again that strength doesn't always announce itself. Sometimes it shows up quietly, for love, and refuses to stay down. From which part of the country are you watching this video? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to see how far this story reaches.